what are the red blue pills?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
It's a reference to the film The Matrix?
Yeah,
I know. I just didn't know if it was for that specifically or
Yeah, it's just like a
Little
reference
prop.
to the film. Okay, so...
that's pretty cool. And I didn't ever know that they made those. Like the little
I gotta pull this up. Oh my god, yeah, there's fucking... Okay, I'm just gonna do, Anya, your questionnaire because it's all scuffed.
The bloody one.
You said that men should have the same standard body count as the women they're dating?
Yeah, so the question was if I disagreed with anything that's kind of talked about on the show. I feel like a lot of the times in the red pill community, a lot of guys want women to have a low body count, which I agree with, but then they'll have a very different standard for themselves, which, to be fair, I think body count is different for men and women. I think men can have a higher body count than women and still with it working out. But I think if you're a man who has a body count of 100 and you turn down a girl who's perfect, but she has a body count of 15, and just because you're against the body count issue, you have no room to talk.
So you think
Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
I mean, do you think it's hypocritical? You think it's unfair? What?
I think it's the same reason that you want a woman to have a lower body count. You'd kind of want the man to have a lower body count. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hypocritical. Which, again, I still state that it's different for men and women.
Right, but you would agree. Well, I don't know if you would agree with me, but do you think that there are certain things that women want that they don't possess themselves?
Yes.
Okay, like, would it be hypocritical, for example, for a broke woman to have a preference or be attracted to like a really rich guy?
I think I think it would be strange for a woman. It would be really rich of her to be like, oh, I only go for millionaires, as she is making no money.
I don't think it would necessarily make her a hypocrite.
I mean, I think it would just, she wouldn't have room to talk. Like, she can't be that picky.
Okay, well, how about this one? A woman who's not a professional athlete. So you're kind of muddying the water a little bit here by saying only wanting to date this. So is that your original position? So like, what if a guy, his general preference is towards low body count women, but he himself has a high body count?
Okay.
Well, even if I was going to say, you know what, I'll just bite on it. So the guy with a high body count, he only wants to date low body count women.
Okay. Don't
actually have a problem with this. I don't see what's wrong with it. Would it be wrong for, I shouldn't even phrase it this way. What would actually be wrong with a woman who has a preference for dating professional athletes, but she's not a professional athlete? And women do this.
Yeah.
Women do this
why
frequently.
do they do it? They do it for the money and the fame, right?
Or they're just attracted to professional athletes. I don't know.
I mean, now we're getting down to like what the root cause of attraction in that specific case is. But I think if she was going after...
It's money and power, right?
So if she's going after money and power, then I would call her a gold digger.
But I mean, can you help who you're attracted to?
No.
Okay.
I think you can actually, I think you can work towards it.
You work towards it, okay. But if you can't help generally, like, can you right now find men you find unattractive attractive?
I can somewhat push myself into it, but I'd prefer not to.
Not generally, though, right?
Correct.
So if you only found men who were 6 feet tall attractive, is that something, you're not 6 feet tall, right?
Right.
Okay, so are you a hypocrite?
I mean, I see what you're saying. I think we're talking, like, what's the purpose of wanting a woman with a low body count, right?
Because you're more attracted to it.
You're more attracted to it, but why?
Well, let's just assume that whatever the reason is ridiculous and stupid. Let's just assume it for the sake of the argument. So what? Even if it was the case that it was just a stupid and ridiculous reason why they were attracted to it, Is that any less stupid and ridiculous than the reason you're attracted to men who are 6 feet or taller?
I mean, I think it's fair to want a woman with a low body count. I'm not against that.
Yeah, but that's not really the question. The question isn't whether or not you think it's fair. The question is about it's about attraction, right? When you're talking about being attracted to men, right, who are, let's say they're over 6 feet, do you find men who are over 6 feet attractive?
I think it's, I guess then, how does he feel about the fact that he does have a high body count? And is that something
How
that,
do you feel about the fact that you're not 6 foot?
I didn't put in my question in there to be
Well,
6 foot,
if
but
I can jump in really quick.
But let's
on
just say you're attracted to men who are 6 feet or taller. What would be actually wrong with that?
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's just a little bit hypocritical. That's it.
Because you're not 6 feet or taller yourself.
No, I'm saying the body count debate is a little bit hypocritical.
Well, I don't understand the difference though. If you're attracted to
You
a
also
man,
can't control your height.
if you're only, yeah, you can't control it, but that's my whole point.
You can
can't
control your body count. You
height.
can control who you put it
can't-
in.
Okay, maybe, but so what? But are you attracted to black men?
I mean, I can find them conventionally attractive, but they're not my type. Typically, no.
Okay, and if there's white people who are not attracted to black men, is that somehow wrong because that's an immutable characteristic?
I don't think it's wrong. No.
Yeah, so
It's-
you
but
just said-
body count is something you
just
can
said
control.
You can control. You just said you can control this thing, right? But you can't control height or things like this. It's like, but you can't control skin color either, and that could ruin your chances for conventional attractiveness, can't it?
Right. You can't control your skin color. You can't control your height. And
So you can't control.
but you can control your body count.
You sure. But what if you're attracted to women who have a low body count? You just don't want to have a low body count yourself.
I mean, I think it would just be a little bit hypocritical because the reason you want a woman with a low body count is because she is all yours. You have like the privacy of her. I'm trying to look for the specific word. I can't think of it, but like, she's all yours. She hasn't been passed around by a bunch of men. I wouldn't want a man who's been passed around by a bunch of women. You know what I mean?
Okay. So you're saying you wouldn't find that attractive?
A man who's been passed around by a bunch of women, not necessarily. I'm not saying he has to have a body count of 0.
I think that's fair. I think that there's some women who wouldn't find that attractive.
Yeah,
But I think the overwhelming majority of men don't find it attractive when women have high body counts.
I agree.
And so here's where we run into this kind of issue. So that woman, there was a woman, you just heard her talk, who said, "You would be lucky to be with a woman like me. You're still a virgin." It seems that she's equating status with men who are able to have lots of sex with beautiful women. That's really strange. Why would women, do you think, equate status with men who have sex with many beautiful women, but also give them a lower status if they've had sex with no women?
I wouldn't give him a high status. I don't think like that
specifically.
woman.
I'm asking about women. Why is it that women seem to give a higher status to men?
I can't give
who
you an
have
answer
sex
'cause
with
that's not
many
the way I
beautiful
think.
Women, and give a lower status to men who have sex with no women.
You're asking me to explain. You're asking me to explain the reason why a woman thinks the way she does when I don't think anything like her.
Did she say beautiful women?
Beautiful.
She, like when she said,
She said that she said that she was conventionally attractive, and that the other woman was conventionally attractive, and that these men would be lucky to have them because they're still virgins, you see. So if that's the case, it sounds to me like she's assigning a lower social status.
I think it's because she
to
thinks
men
women
who
are the
virgins
gatekeepers.
than she would assign to a man who is able to, I don't know, pull women in her category, right?
I guess she's the hypocrite because she's thinking that women are the gatekeepers of sex, or sorry, schmex. Women are the gatekeepers of schmex, but at the same time, that men, like she's saying the same thing, but for both sexes.
Do you smoke?
Somewhat.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Does that make me a hypocrite?
How do you feel about it?
That you shouldn't smoke?
Okay,
Bad for you.
so I think we all do things that we know are bad for us.
Yeah, does it make me a hypocrite, though? I'm smoking.
I think a little bit.
If I tell my 10-year-old not to smoke, am I a hypocrite?
No, I guess not. Because
Why?
you
How come I'm not a hypocrite when I tell my 10-year-old not to smoke, but only a hypocrite when I tell you not to?
no, I mean, if you told both of us not to.
I feel like it also comes with age. Like when you're legally allowed to.
Hang on. Before the sisterhood kicks in, I just want to finish the exchange.
I mean,
10 years old, why is it if I tell my 10-year-old not to smoke, even though I'm a smoker, that I'm not a hypocrite?
I think it's because you have a responsibility to instill knowledge and to instill values and to instill like behaviors into your child. You have a responsibility over this kid. You don't have any responsibility over me.
It's also leading
Here's
by
where
example.
Here's where the problem comes in, is that you misunderstand what the word hypocrite means. Hypocrite does not mean I am doing the same thing I'm telling you not to do. That's not hypocrisy. Hypocrisy requires pretentious acting. That's what hypocrisy
Not believing what
So
you're
if you're
saying.
really fat and you're on a treadmill and you look over at a guy who's really fat and you say, hey, you shouldn't be so fat. That's not healthy for you. There is no hypocrisy there. He's correct. That guy is fat. He does need to lose weight. The status of you being fat has no bearing on that whatsoever. It's only if publicly I said smoking is bad, let's say, and then privately I was smoking away, then I would be a hypocrite.
So it's not believing the things that you're putting out there.
Yeah, there
Right.
would be a sense of acting, yes. So if a man says that he prefers a woman with a low body count and he himself has a high body count, where's the acting?
Okay, so that's what I said, is that it depends on how he feels about it. If he regrets it and he
No, he doesn't regret it. That's all he seeks is virgins, and that's all he wants. How does that make him a hypocrite?
because he's not practicing what he believes.
No, he is practicing what he
Or
believes.
he isn't putting-
He believes
he-
that he should have a high body count and she shouldn't.
I mean, I don't know. I
So
just
where's the hypocrisy?
let me think.
It's just like let's just say I'm fat because I am, and I wanted a woman who is skinny, right? Am I a hypocrite?
That's your preference.
Of course. That's not hypocrisy. That's not what hypocrisy
No,
means.
it's
I think
not.
I think you have a bad idea of what hypocrisy
I
is.
think with the smoking thing, it's more about like trying to what's the word? You want your son to grow up to maybe not have the habits that you have. So it's more about setting a good example.
So it's not hypocrisy?
It is hypocrisy, but
How is it hypocrisy though?
well, if you're
If
smoking,
I smoke and tell you smoking is bad, that's not hypocrisy.
well, it's no.
It's if I
but
tell you smoking is bad and I would never smoke.
if
and then
you
I'm
if
smoking
you're
when you're not
smoking a
around,
cigarette
that would
in
be
front of your son and then tell him not to smoke a cigarette, that's
That's
hypocritical.
not hypocrisy.
Okay.
Wait, so then okay.
That's
what
not
is
so then the
hypocrisy
man,
then? Let me-
so then the man in this scenario, he would say a high body count is bad, but then he has a high body count himself.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
body count for
I'm getting a little bit lost on our
See what you're
definition
doing-
because
what
I
you're
feel like we're
doing-
we're
Here's
bouncing
what you're
back and
doing.
forth.
What you're doing is classic reframing, right? Sure. In a case where a man says high body counts are bad, right, and he has a high body count, maybe you could make the equation of hypocrisy then. But that's not what men say.
Okay, so
If they're saying,
I guess that
if
was
they're
my,
saying,
that was
I
my
have a high
statement.
body count, and that's fine, and I want a woman who has a low body count, that is not hypocrisy.
So my statement is, I guess I should have clarified in the note, that a man who thinks that a high body count is bad and prefers women with lower body counts, but then at the same time goes out and sleeps with a bunch of women, while also saying that having a high body count is bad, I think that that's hypocritical.
Well, that would be hypocritical.
Okay.
Who's doing that?
So let me so that was the clarification on my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, if there was a serial killer who told you serial killing was wrong, he's not being a hypocrite. It's if the man was actively pursuing serial killers because he said it was wrong and then secretly he was serial killing, then he would be a hypocrite, right?
So, like, for example, like, I've seen I think their name is Fit and Fresh. I think I've seen Fit and Fresh say, having a high body count is bad, but then at the same time, they'll talk a lot about.
I can tell you right now that I can tell you Myron's exact position.
Okay.
Myron's exact position is that men and their status equation with having a high body count for women actually makes them more attractive to women. And women who have a higher body count makes them less attractive to men. And here's how he backs this up. And it's really hard to argue this point, because what he says is, look, women will usually insult men and put them in a lower social category if they haven't had sex with multiple women. They say you can't pull women, you're in a lower social category. Women, though, never put men in a lower social category because they have slept with many women.
I actually, if I go on a date with a guy and he tells me he slept with like loads and loads of girls, it actually puts me off him.
Sure.
If it's
your
like
preference of attractive, hang on, your preference for attraction may go down, sure. But that doesn't mean his social status goes down with women, because it doesn't.
It's
Your particular and specific preference may go away. Just like your preference may be to have blonde-haired guys. That doesn't mean that the social status of a man goes down because he doesn't have blonde hair. The truth of the matter is the social status of men, at least in the current society, if they can have sex with beautiful women, is real high.
Well, that's
And the
depressing.
social status for women having sex with multiple men is not, because it's really easy for women to do that, isn't it?
It's of course. Pretty much any woman can walk outside and,
but almost no
get
man
laid
can.
within
So
5
if
seconds.
if you and I go out to the street tomorrow and we're holding a sign and you say, first man who honks, I'll suck your dick, right? And I say, first woman who honks, I'll sleep with you. Who do you think is going to get honked at first?
Probably the girl for sure.
Of course,
Yeah, the girl for sure. So it's not some big feat. It's not some great task that you've accomplished, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. I don't think
But
that
for a
a woman
man,
having a
it
huge
is.
body count is something to be proud of at all.
But for a man, it is actually a big task, isn't it? That if you could pull tons of beautiful women, that actually is something, which is not something most men can do. But for women, seems to be super duper easy. So that's why the social status seems to be associated with
Got
that.
it.
You said something specific. You said if he can sleep with many beautiful women. I think women can sleep with a lot of men, but certain women choose to be chaste, right? That's the word? Chaste?
Yes. And their value goes exponentially higher.
Exponentially higher. So
Man's does not.
if you look at a man and you're like, oh yeah, he can definitely get it, but then you talk to him and he's like, yeah, I don't throw myself around there. I think maybe we can go around
Most
and
women
ask.
see that as a red flag, actually.
Can we actually
Most
go
women-
around and ask? Because if
Most women will see men in their 30s who are virgins as being red flags. What's wrong with him? What's going on with him? What's the problem with that guy?
Okay, but like if I see a conventionally attractive man and I know that he could get any woman in the bar at that specific time, and then I come up to talk to him and he's like, yeah, I've actually only really had one relationship, I only had one partner, that would instantly make me attracted to him.
Yeah, that's hot.
I honestly think everybody here would agree with that.
Yeah.
I think we can see an attractive man, understand that he can get it, but knowing that he didn't is hot. And it's the same way for women.
Yeah, well, let's find out if this is true. Okay? We'll do this with just a quick social experiment.
I'm ready to be proved wrong.
I want you, if you have slept with more than 3 men who have had only one body or less, raise your hand. If you have slept with more than 2 men who have had more than 5 bodies, raise your hand.
Wait, can you say that?
If you have slept with more than 3 men, and those 3 men have had more than 5 bodies, raise your hand.
Wait, sorry, I was getting confused.
What's confusing about this?
Sorry,
It's a man.
I zoned out.
Hang on. If you've slept with 3 men,
Not 3,
men,
no, sorry.
okay, who have had more than 3 women, raise your hand. Raise it up. Come on, raise it up. You can lie and say, raise your hand. Yeah, there we go. But nobody was raising their hand when it came to the man who had only slept with 1, but you want me to believe that you just find them to be conventionally attractive. Yeah, right.
They
Sell
are.
me some more bullshit. some other time.
I feel like it's kind of
Because-
hard to find men that's only slept with like one good guy, especially like where we are at, like in LA and stuff. I feel like a lot of people, like, typically it's either you haven't had sex with anyone because you're